Hello friends, today I want to talk to you about some spooky reads. It is fall, so it is obviously Halloween and the weather is turning, at least in the northern hemisphere, and so it's getting a little chilly, the rain, so it's bringing everyone into the spooky mood, which I'm all for. I'm always in a spooky mood personally, so I'm glad when everyone else joins me. I'm going to be doing 3 recommendation videos, if all goes to plan, of some of the spooky or scary reads I like. I'm going to be naming them spooky, spookier, and spookiest just because it sounds so good. So this is the spooky reads one. These are like the low level ones. A lot of these are middle grade, but I will say that there's a middle grade in the middle one, so you know. I will say my tolerance for scary things is pretty high, so if you have a very low tolerance, maybe take some of these with a grain of salt, but they are middle grade, so hopefully they are acceptable for all ages with just mildly spooky stuff. I will say a lot of it just has to do with like witchy stuff or stuff like that, or supernatural things. Like, it's not all actually supposed to be like scary, so hopefully, even if you do not like scary things, hopefully you will find something in one of these videos that you enjoy. And if you have any recommendations for me, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Yeah, so this is part 1 of a spooky series, so I hope you enjoy.
I can reach for a well-worn book to give me an escape.
The first thing I'm going to talk about is a graphic novel series that I haven't finished, but I've read the first one, and that is Witch Boy by Molly Ostertag. I've only read this first one, but I really enjoyed it, and I also really love this like art style. It's like beautiful. This is about Aster, and in their family the magic is very gendered, so like the boys learn to shapeshift and the girls learn like spell witchy magic stuff, but Aster can't really get the hang of shapeshifting. They don't really like it. They're much more interested in the magic stuff and all of that, and then this kind of follows them as they figure that out. I'm using they them pronouns for Aster because I don't really know how they identify. However, I will say this full, I think it's a trilogy, is out now, so the full series is out, and I will definitely be trying to get to this very soon because this one was so good and so much fun and so interesting, and I just love a queer magic story. I just do. Like, give me any queer magic recommendations you have. Yeah, and this was like really good, really cute. It also doesn't shy away from the harder things, I will say, but I do think it's still, I'm pretty sure this is acceptable for all ages. But obviously you know yourself the best, so go with you. I don't know. Next we have something that is 2 things actually. It's a chapter book series and also a graphic novel series. This is The Backstagers in the Ghostlight by Andy Mientus, illustrated by Riazi. This is originally a graphic novel series that has been turned into more of a book, chapter book kind of series with some illustrations throughout. There are still some illustrations, which is great because I really like these illustrations and these characters. This is fun. This is obviously, as you can tell by the name and obviously who it's written by, this is all about theater and the people that are backstage, so the stagehands and that stuff. They're called the Backstagers in this like school thing. They're high school age, I believe. I don't remember now. They seem really young. This is definitely appropriate for younger audiences. I don't want to give anything away. I will say you don't have to have read the graphic novels to read these books. There are 3 of them, I think. But I do highly recommend the graphic novels. They're so much fun. I love these characters so much. And I will just say that the backstage is a little more magical than you think it is. And that is, it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. It's also really spooky at points, like very spooky. But I would still consider this appropriate for all ages as well. Next, we have The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud, Lockwood & Co. Book 1. I have not continued on with this series, but I do want to. This is basically like Victorian youth magic detectives. That's how we're gonna phrase it. In this world, only younger people have the ability to see the supernatural ghosty things, and so there's like a bunch of young detectives doing things, and I think this one they get a case to do. I don't remember it super well, as you can tell, but I believe they get a case to do with like a manor, and there's like, I know this one gets pretty dark. I would say if you're more easily spooked by stuff, that this is probably not for you. It is pretty spooky for a middle grade, But it is also really good and a lot of fun. It's also a chunky boy if you're into that kind of thing, which I am. Next, we have two that I remember very little about, but I do remember really enjoying and really loving, so I still wanted to talk about them, but I'm just going to talk about them briefly because I don't remember them super well. And that is Doll Bones by Holly Black and The Curious Tale of the In-Between by Lauren DeStefano. These are both middle grade spooky books. This Doll Bones is about a group of friends who like used to play in this magical world, and then they're growing up, so their parents and everyone in society wants them to leave this magical world behind and like grow up and start focusing on like real life stuff. But maybe the magical world is not so fake. So I remember really enjoying this. I really love Holly Black's writing. I think she's really good. I really like her stuff, so I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun, and it's very short if you're looking for a cute, slightly spooky read. This is only like slightly spooky in my memory. And then this has something to do with a girl who can see ghosts, and I believe she meets someone. I believe she meets like a young boy who can also see ghosts, and they end up trying to figure out like what's going on, why they can see ghosts, that kind of thing. Yeah, this was cute too. I do like Lauren DeStefano's writing, even though I haven't read much of her stuff. But this is also a short, cute one, and it's got that spooky cover, and it has like, this is very autumn vibes, so this is fun. These are no particular order, and but I do want to say that these next two are some of like, next three really, are some of like my new favorites. I read them in the last 2 or 3 years, I think. But this is Spirit Hunters by Ellen O. This is about a girl who moves into a new house with her mom and brother, I think. I think that's the only people in the family. She has like a younger brother, and then like the younger brother starts acting odd, and maybe like something's happening to him, and there are all these rumors about the house being like haunted and stuff, and she's having deja vu to do with this, like this has happened before, maybe, possibly. And yeah, there's a lot going on in this for such a short book. It was very, very good, basically. I don't want to tell you much more than that because I don't want to like spoil anything, but honestly this was amazing, and I'm planning to reread it this month because I just enjoyed it so much, and thinking about it again for this recommendation video has me really wanting to reread it. So there's also a second book, maybe more. I think it's just duology though, which I haven't read yet, so if I do end up rereading this one, hopefully I can also get to the second one. Next, we have The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Wedding by Alexander Braken. This is also part of a duology. The second book is also out. I have also not read it yet. This is about a boy who is possessed by a demon, but they're like sharing the body, and like weird stuff is happening, and his family is like real messed up, and it takes place, I don't think it takes place in Salem, at least from my memory, but I think it takes place in like a very Salem-esque part. It's very like New England fall vibes, which I love. I love a good New England fall vibe. I mean, that's where I grew up, that's where I live now, so that's like one of my favorite things, with all the leaves and the pumpkins and the chill. I just love it so much. I don't think I want to say more than that either for this one. I know all of these synopsises are kind of vague, but I feel like with spookier books you don't want to know too much going into it, so I'm just kind of giving you like a vague line, and then I'll write all the titles and authors down below so that you can look into them yourself if you want to know more, or if you want to look up other reviews to see what other people thought of them. I will leave that in the description down below. Next, this is not classically spooky, I will say. This is not something that I originally thought I was going to add to this list, but then I saw it on my shelf and I was like, no, this is a good pick for that. And this is The Gauntlet by Karuna Riazi. Every time I stumble over their name. When this was originally being marketed, it was being marketed as very similar to Jumanji, which it is. It has like that same killer board game vibe to it happening. But I will say that this is slightly different, in which they go into the game, and it just, in the world that they're in inside the game, is just so rich and so interesting and so slightly terrifying, because like it is trying to kill them, very much like Jumanji. And I think that's where the like spookier aspects of this come in. Yeah, but it's so much fun, it's so interesting and complex, and I just highly recommend this one as well, along with obviously all of these, but this is a lot of fun. And then finally, I wanted to just briefly mention this one because it's pretty popular. You've probably heard of it, but that is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I love Neil Gaiman. I'm going to talk about him more in future spooky recommendation videos because I do love his stuff. I love it a lot. This is something I read in the last year, I believe, or year and a half, something like that. And It's interesting. It's definitely very slow paced and subtly spooky. And even then it never really got to really that scary for me. I mean, like I mentioned, I have a high tolerance for it, but even then, like, I can tell when something is like scary. And this is just like very slow paced, very like, I don't know how else to explain it besides that. It's not like, I don't mean that in a bad way either, slow paced in a bad way. It's very interesting and very fun to read. It's very atmospheric and interesting. Like, the main character of this, his whole family is murdered, and then he grows up in a graveyard raised by ghosts. Like, that's, do you need to know anything else? Please read all of these books, actually. Just all of them. They're all great. So those are my spooky book recommendations. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found some spooky books to read during this spooky season and on throughout the year. If you have any recommendations for me, please leave them in the comments down below. I hope you are having a good day. I hope you are safe. Life before death, Radiance.
Oh, the things you create make the world a better place. Don't settle for someone else's